Yo, what's good everyone? We just got the Natlan livestream and they revealed Mualani's coming in the first half of 5.0. Let's look at her kit, builds and teams. So what does she do and how do we play her? Simply put, use a skill and she'll start surfing on a shark. Now when you press a normal attack, she'll attack the enemy with a shark bite, dealing big damage. She can do the shark bite attack a few times before hopping off a shark. This is considered normal attack damage, but because it's part of a skill, you don't need to level up her normals. You'd only need to level up her normals if you plan to use them while not riding a shark, which realistically you're not going to be doing. This is obviously good news because it means you can save some of your resin, which is appreciated given the fact it's a new region with lots of stuff to farm. Her burst, pretty simple, deals a big instance of AoE hydro damage. It's also worth noting, when Mualani makes contact with an enemy while surfing a shark, she gets a stack. Once she has 3 stacks for consume to buff her next shark bite attack. She also has a couple passives to talk about. The first passive makes her drop a pufferfish when a shark bite hits an enemy. Picking the fish up lets her surf on a shark for longer, which means you can use more shark bites. The second passive gives her a different kind of stack to the shark one every time a teammate triggers a Night Soul burst. For those that don't know what that means, it's just when a Natlan character deals elemental damage. It won't be useful until we get some Natlan characters that synergize with her properly, but technically speaking you could run her with Kachina and Kinich even though the team would be garbage. Upon dealing Geo damage with Kachina and Dendro damage with Kinich, you get 2 stacks, 1 from each of them. She can get up to 3 stacks and each one increases her burst damage a bit. When you use a burst, it consumes the stacks. Again, don't worry about that until we get further into Natlan. For pros and cons, her damage is a big positive in a kit. If you run her in vape teams, you're going to be clapping cheeks. Her playstyle of using a burst, then a skill to serve a shark, then a normal attacks to do the shark bites is quite short in comparison to other hydro DPSs like Child and Nouvelette. With a lot of the damage being front-loaded, you can make use of lesser used characters like Mona, so she isn't completely tied to vape. She's free to play friendly too, with her having a craftable catalyst in Natlan that gives her HP and normal attack damage. She can also take a bunch of artifacts that are available in the strongbox, which we'll talk about in a minute. An advantage of Mualani that may potentially get overlooked is her ability to surf on a shark in the Natlan overworld. Basically, you can interact with some hydro dinosaur thing and gain the ability to surf, but these dinosaurs are going to be scattered about the map, most likely where there's water and lava. If you're in the middle of some land, you're not going to be coming across the hydro dinosaurs. You're going to come across the Dendro and Geo ones. Having Mualani means you'll always have access to this mechanic. Also, with the new stamina system for the dinosaur mounts having ways to top the stamina up, she might be your quickest way of traversing Natlan if you can surf a shark for prolonged periods of time. For her downsides, we already have strong hydro DPSs that can make use of vape. It's not that she'll be useless to an account that already has a hydro DPS, but it's a shame that she doesn't have a niche unique to her, or at least more than one. You can use her outside of vape if you want to and she'll still deal damage, but she'll get outperformed by others. If you'd rather save your primo gems for someone else, you're not missing out on a must-pull character. In terms of weapons, her signature will obviously be best. Sacrificial Jade from her battle pass gives some easy crit rate, but bear in mind, you already get 24% from her ascension and 40% from the new artifact set, putting her at 64%. Sacrificial Jade giving her 36% puts her at 100% crit rate, and that's without artifacts. You could end up overcapping on crit rate, but the extra HP and elemental mastery satisfies a lot of her stat requirements. Even at R1 it's a nice weapon. R5 isn't a wasted long-term investment, and it's useful on Nouvelette too if you don't have a weapon for him. Don't sleep on the new Natlan craftable for her. It gives a lot of HP as well as normal attack damage, so if you're limited for gacha options and don't want to buy the battle pass, this is going to be your weapon. Big sexy positive for free-to-plays. Kokomi's weapon's similar. It gives more HP and doesn't have a cap on how much extra damage and normal attacks get from the passive, but I wouldn't pull it just for Mualani. I'm not a fan of a Wid Sift downtime, but if you can get the damage or elemental mastery buff, you're going to be doing big numbers for a chunk of your rotation. Even without the passive, it's a lazy crit damage stick, which might be a stat that you need. Nouvelette's signature weapon is a nice stat stick, but you won't be getting the charge attack damage bonus. Her artifacts are easy. The new Natlan DPS set, Obsidian Codex, will be her best. It's going to give her 15% extra damage and 40% crit rate, which you can't argue against. If her HP is fluctuating a lot, for example in Farina teams, she can hold Marashose Hunter for crit rate and normal attack damage. 4-piece Heart of Depth is your strongbox set if you have good substats. It's likely that's going to be your day 1 set until you farm the Natlan set. You'll want HP Sands, Hydro Goblet and Crit Circlet. I know a lot of people ignore it, but try and get a little bit of elemental mastery on her. Obviously you'll be prioritizing crit stats, but if any of your artifacts roll elemental mastery a few times, consider using them. Now for my favorite part of the video, let's start cooking some delicious teams. With her being so strong in vape, let's look at vape teams first. Mualani, Kazuha, Xiangling and Zhongli is going to be a lot of people's Mualani team. The damage will be massive, but you do have to build a lot of energy recharge on Xiangling. Giving both her and Zhongli Favonius Lance if you have to will be helpful. If not, you can swap her attack sands off for an energy recharge sands. You can give Zhongli the new support set from the same domain you're farming Mualani's set from too. It's going to increase the damage of any element Zhongli reacts with, which in this team is likely going to be Pyro for Xiangling. She'll appreciate that given the fact she's losing damage compared to her normal national teams, with her not being the one triggering vapes. Swapping Kazuha out for Farina gives you an extra damage dealer, and then Zhongli out for Baizhu is going to give you the heals to compensate for the self-damage from Farina. There might be occasions where Farina steals the vape, hopefully not too often, with Baizhu applying a little bit of Dendro for burning. Farina's damage buff will balance it out a bit though. Running this team allows you to run the Marashosei set, which is a positive if you have a good 4-piece. Another bonus of this team is that it has the Hydro Resonance, giving the entire team extra HP. 3 of the 4 characters here scale off HP, so we take those. If you don't have Farina, then Candice is a good alternative for a normal attack damage bonus, and she also scales off HP. Mualani, Emily, Xiangling, and Zhongli is similar to the first team, except instead of Kazuha's buffs and resistance shred, we're getting an extra damage dealer. This can be useful towards the end of Abyss Chambers, because if you want to save your burst for the next chamber, having damage tied to your character's skills doesn't consume energy but still allows you to deal damage. For example, if you had a small chunk of an enemy's HP left with Kazuha instead of Emily, you'd be using Xiangling's skill and then Mualani's skill. Realistically, it's not going to be enough pyro for Mualani to vape all of his, but with Emily it will be, because she'll be creating a burning aura, and Emily's a source of extra damage. Now what if you're bored of Xiangling, which is completely understandable? You can swap her out to get Dia in there. It'll mean less damage, but it's less burst reliant than the Xiangling variant, and with Dia providing sustainability, we can swap out Zhongli for Nahida. The elemental mastery from Nahida's burst and the Dendro resonance means you can build less on Mualani and focus more on HP and crit stats. You can even use Dia's burst during Mualani's downtime, which is nice for those of us that like Dia but have been underwhelmed with her from a meta perspective. Putting Vape aside completely, let's look at Mono Hydro. Mualani and Farina is a good core that we talked about earlier. Kazuha will benefit the pair of them, and then there are a few sustain options. One worth considering, which a lot of you might be pleased to hear, is Siegeween. As you know, she's not considered to be the most meta option, but a lot of you love her design, so having another team for her is nice, and she also scales off HP, so she benefits from Hydro Resonance too. There might even be incentive to use Siegeween's burst during Mualani's downtime. You could go with Baizhu and give him a new support set to boost the team's Hydro damage. Charlotte can hold it too, and you can get some freeze off. You could even try having fun with Jean for the Animo Resonance, which increases movement speed and reduces skill cooldowns slightly. I'm interested in double Hydro, double Geo teams. Chiori would be solid for constant off-field damage. Navia deals a lot of front-loaded damage with short cooldowns too, which makes her a nice option for Mualani's downtime. For the second Hydro character, I think it's worth taking Mona off the bench. She can hold the new support set so everyone gets extra elemental damage, and you can give a prototype Amber if you need heals. Personally, I'm hoping that the Leopard Girl Sheila Nen will be useful in this team. If she can provide off-field damage, buffs or shred, she'll have value here. If you don't have Chiori, Kachina will be an okay alternative, and she can also hold the new support set if you wanted Mona holding something else. And finally, little bit of a meme team, but you could go for quick swap units like Mualani, Tignari, Navia and a Flex. Zhongli's the easiest choice for Geo Resonance and Resistance Shred. I don't recommend this for floor 12 of the Abyss, but I'm sure you could have a lot of fun with it in domains in the overworld. Overall, Mualani's a decent character at C0. Easy to build, big damage in vape teams, nice for traversing Natlan, free to play weapon options, but let down a little by being mid outside of vape. I think that'll change through Natlan as she gets more teammates though. I'm going to be dropping similar guides for Kinich and Kachina as well as other pre-Natlan videos. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in them, and take it easy.